how it's flowered over the years. And I was talking about trying to empathize what it's like for Prabhupada. Even today, some of us have trouble going from one place to another. And he did it on a boat. And he had a heart attack, and most people would go back, like I said. And he persevered. And then he's in this very strange land. Because in India, in general, is more innocent. The time is slower. There's a service attitude that people in the West don't have. In the West, it's what's in Rome they call bread and circus. So many recreation. Oh, maybe we can put a board on the water and then put a sail on it. Oh, and what's the next thing? And in fact, it's called planned obsolescence. That they make things to break, and then they'll put a new style there, like a fin on a car, and try to sell it. So as I say, India is a little bit more innocent. And here Prabhupada went on, and he goes to Butler, Pennsylvania, and he really didn't know the people, and $7 with books. The books were like his ship that he was riding. And he would use his trunk as a desk. So he goes down the coal mine to see what it's like in America, and there's a priest there, and he says, if you don't worship Jesus, you'll go to hell. And so the miners said, well, what is this hell like? Well, it's deep into the ground, and it's cramped, and it's hot. And they said, well, this is our working conditions, so we don't mind going to hell. And the priest said, well, there's no newspapers in hell. Oh, we don't want to go. So Prabhupada, he picked up and told me, well, Krishna's all attractive. And as Bhakti Marg Swami this morning was saying how we make Krishna conscious attractive to people. And I learned it from Prabhupada because he listened. He found the common ground. One time there was this ball tea maker, Pale, in India. And this guy was as boring as an insurance salesman. And Prabhupada was listening and listening. And then when he said, well, we put the rivets here, and Prabhupada's eyes got big, and he said, and that's how we dovetail to Krishna, and he changed the subject. But he waited for the right timing and to really see into the heart of the person, because Krishna's in their heart and our hearts. And Prabhupada saw in all our hearts. I was saying yesterday how all the divergent, different types of personalities that he attracted, from Vietnam vets, everybody. And since I'm on this topic, I'm going to continue the story and glory of Prabhupada, but since I'm on the topic of our family, our spiritual family that he's given us, by the way, this is a formal occasion, so I wore a tie. So, we have in our midst the, oh, you want it?
The mic.
Oh. Prabhupada would say, bring the table here, and it was like the table was a person, he said one time, and our elbows were here on the table, planning together. So we have in our midst one of my dear pioneer people, Malati Devi. We were there from the very beginning, and she's still not only trucking on, but motorcycling on. Because at one time she rode a motorcycle. She's already scolding me. Yeah. Anyway, not only has she persevered, but she's giving her wisdom in her way. And what I really honor about Malati is that she's advocating for the hidden minority, women. They're so taken for granted, and it's very easy to be chauvinistic because it says we protect the woman and the woman has to be your slave. I mean, it's in many ways, Chintamani is smarter than me in some categories, and we complement one another. So that's one of the things we want to communicate, because there can be so many dysfunctions in Krishna conscious marriage. Your peer pressure, your standards, you don't communicate because the authorities may think this or something. So that's another thing. Oscar Wilde, the author, said, be yourself, everyone else is taken. So don't submerge your individuality for peer pressure, what others may think, because Prabhupada encouraged. In fact, he was washing cloth at Radha Damodar temple, and I said, I'll do it. And he said, no, I want to be as independent as possible. It's a form of renunciation too. And then he said, I like to cook for myself. So we're dependent, but we're also ourselves. So back to the story. So then he really paid his dues. He had a hard time for a while. He was alone. He was thrust into one of the hardest places on the planet, New York City. New York City is almost a planet within itself. People are it's cramped. People are in a hurry. They don't talk to one another. There's good and bad. It's a planet of duality. But let's just say New York is harder than the West Coast. So he was thrust into that. Somebody stole his typewriter. He was attacked. But he met Mukunda and Janaki. So he spoon-fed us like babies in the way we could understand. anything you'd want in a Swami, he was. If you were making a list, wise, but carrying on tradition, but compassionate. When people ask, of all the qualities of Prabhupada, what do you like? It's compassion. He was so kind. I remember we'd watch him and he'd be peeling apples and giving us the apples and the Veda culture simultaneously. And I'm saying the Veda culture because the 60s were very hedonistic, free everything. And so the question is, why would I, having a good time, follow a 71-year-old man who's telling me not to have fun anymore? And he identified, I have given you the Vedic culture. And see, he's so brilliant. He told me the plan is to combine Vedic culture with the dynamics of the West. And he did it. So then in New York, a temple happened, and some devotees. And I'm so honored to even have met Jamuna. And we were friends before getting initiated, so it wasn't an arranged marriage. And we lived with Malati and Samarshunda. That's where I met her. And two dogs, Ketal, a dog from Mexico, and Ralph, Samarshunda's dog. And Mukunda came, and I was so impressed with him. He was like a Siksha guru. He was, at that time, and we were all new, but he was raving about the Swami, but he also was giving us a little bit of what he already learned, and it was like Navayona, this concept is great. And Prabhupada gave us the basics, and the one basic thing he did was Das Anudas. That can save the world if everybody did it. And we do it. We're an oasis in these gatherings. Everybody wants to see everybody else's success. That'll make it work. Well, most everybody. We're trying. So, San Francisco, Mukunda told, well, this is a good opportunity because at that time San Francisco was influencing the world by its searching, by its young people tired of the status quo, how the old people made mistakes. And I say to all you young people, do it better than us too. We've made some mistakes here and there. You're the future of the world. And so, the Swami's coming, the Swami's coming. So back then, the search was so part of everything that we painted our cars. So we had a Hare Krishna car, and then Haridas, the artist, who, by the way, put a totem pole in our temple to the right of Prabhupada. And he led it there. It's the history of Inuit and indigenous people, and he respected that. So the Swami's coming. Haridas's father had a Cadillac. So a Cadillac's like a Rolls Royce. And we painted Hare Krishna on it, so it was the Krishna lot now. And Thormobiles and Batmobiles are going to the airport to see the Swami, and we're in costumes. I had a samurai kind of thing at Jamuna. Sam Mukunda had a NASA suit. I don't know where he got that. And Sam Rishinda had a Afghani shepherd thing that smelled like sheep. And we're all going there in costume, dashikis and Mexican sombreros, a Swami. And there, everybody's off the plane, no Swamiji. And then he comes. You see, when you travel, everybody stands up in the aisle like cattle. We always let people go, unless we're doing a plane that we have to catch, but if not. So suddenly he emerges from the plane, and he's resplendent. It's like Yudhisthira's chariot. His feet didn't touch the ground. And he's always looking up into Vaikuntha a lot of the time. He thought transcendentally. We're in a clinic in Mumbai, and the man said, I saw you on television, and now you're in my clinic. Isn't it a small world? And Prabhupada said, yes, it's insignificant. So then he comes into the airport, and with his lotus fingers, he was golden, and some people joined just by seeing Prabhupada. It definitely was different and glowing. And then he takes his lotus fingers and he does the kartals, not in any hurry, present, 100% now. If we rest on our laurels of the past, great Gurudas, then we're getting in the way of the now. And if we're encroaching upon the future, we don't have a chance to experience the now. And so he was 100% there. More. It was such a phenomenon from the beginning. And then we did a beautiful kirtan. He sang with his beautiful honey voice. And we went with about 40 people and cars. And then people started to crowd around us. And then Prabhupada was chanting. And then I saw out of the corner of my eye the suits, the managers, rushing towards us. I knew they were going to try and stop. And at that point, the Swami stopped. And then they had nothing. I remember when the Naxalites at this Pandal, the first Pandal in Calcutta, the Naxalites were there, communists, and they were telling Prabhupada, quit or die. They were threatening. There was one general in our congregation, Colonel Dutta, and he wanted to fight them. Well, he still had his uniform on, even though he was retired. No. The Naxalites were complaining that the life members, they were seized for 1 rupee because some people were either life members or elderly and they couldn't sit on the ground, and this was their complaint. complain. So I said to Swami, Prabhupada, they're complaining about that. So he said, let them sit in the seats. So I said, you can sit in the seats. Then they had nothing to complain about, but they were still rumbling. Then Prabhupada sang Brahma Samhita prayers so sweetly, and they just calmed down. And yet there still was a noise. It's Pishima, dear Pishima, Prabhupada's sister. We had such a nice relationship. She was really compassionate, so she had some followers, and they were making noise. And you know, in India, when there's people making noise, there's people going, Chakaro, Chakaro, and they're louder than the people making noise. I'm going to get to India because I don't get, I definitely have to get to India today. Because it's really, it's three parts. It's Swami, early days, Prabhupada in London, and then the Jagat Guru. But the Indian experience. So there was still noise. So I didn't do Chap Karo. I quieted down everybody. So I go to, okay, Prabhupada, the Knox lights are quiet, we're ready. We were building the stage into the night. Tamal Krishna wrote a telegram, come immediately to Calcutta, and because it was written, not typed, it said Tamal OD'd. And OD means overdose on what? The holy name? No, it means okay. Anyway, he put me in charge. We're still doing it anyway. So now it's all ready. The stage is quiet. Okay, I'm ready, Prabhupada. And Pishima's quiet. He says, I used to beat her up and I still shall. Shall. I used to beat her up and I still shall. Now people are surprised about that, but he didn't really beat her up, and he used to have kite competitions. So there we are, and Prabhupada's sitting on the altar that Sam Mashinda built. There's no deities. We got Kartamashi. I showed the picture yesterday. Well, I went in the store and I explained it yesterday. And we're really learning everything. Prabhupada played a bongo drum because there were no mridungas or kartals or anything like that. And then our Malati is getting everything. A stove from Jerry Garcia so we could do the chapatis, and a flat of butter from the truck, and then the Jagannath deity. Malati brought Jagannath. She can tell the story better than me from her point of view. I'd like to hear that. But, so we're building, and I explained yesterday how the Harinam started and Jagannath Festival and things we may take for granted. And so this is our first little captain. And so I got him from the store and took him to the Golden Gate Park. And we fed him, and it was actually before and after pictures, pale and then rosy-cheeked, and Prabhupada saw it. So now Prabhupada could get off the altar, and he got on the Vyasasana, and I talked about that yesterday. So San Francisco was successful, and so then the Swami picked the 6 of us, the 7th of us, because Saraswati was there, and she was like, when they say the fifth Beatle, well, she's like the seventh of the, as Olivia Harrison said, the gang's all here. But, oh, there's a really nice picture of Saraswati in India, and people are just enamored with her, and I snapped a photo. Because Saraswati had a special relationship with Prabhupada, just like Janaki. Janaki was no awe and reverence. She would just sometimes just go in the room. He never told us to bow down. He didn't ask us to shake heads at first. As we're ready. He said, if you learn something easy, you forget it easy. And if you learn it hard, it'll be harder to forget. So we don't want to trick people to become devotees. We don't need numbers. We want people who make that choice, not just cajole people. So Saraswati, she would just go in and out of his room, and he was so kind to children. There's many photos, and all of them. Kind to us all. Tremendous. And at the same time, writing books, and receiving people. His day was regulated. He'd get up, he'd wash, he'd chant. Then he would walk at the same time, and then prasadam, and then holding court, meeting people, morning massage, then meticulously planning and honoring prasadam, not talking while he had prasadam. If we're talking, we can't even chew or digest. Honor the prasadam. He did it. And when he really liked it, he put his hand down. So Saraswati, when we were doing this in London, Conway Hall, everything, she would get up and dance, and then people would get up and dance. She was part of it, but he would tease her. This story is sort of secondhand, so I'm not sure. Perhaps Malati can collaborate it, but apparently Prabhupada gave her a Krishna with a laddu, and then they hid it behind her back, and she was feeling Vipralamba, where's my Krishna? And then Prabhupada gave it back to her, but he held it for a long time. Sometimes he would tease her. She was walking by a lake with Shinda on her, and he said, can Saraswati swim? Can Saraswati swim? And she'd go, no, no. And he said, can she swim? So sometimes they had this rasa, but one time, it's such an adventure. This member of parliament, I gotta tell that story next before I forget, but so Saraswati's, now there's all these dignified people in the room with Prabhupada, and Saraswati's in the doorway, and this is also secondhand, so I'm not sure, but oh, maybe I was there. Anyway, Saraswati's in the doorway, and Prabhupada said, Saraswati, come on, come on. And so she wouldn't come in, and he said, Saraswati, why aren't you coming in? She says, well, I can't, I've got to pass stool. And all the dignitaries left. So here we are, we have a letter from Allen Ginsberg to Tom Drieberg. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So we were trying to get him. He did help out eventually. He lived in the church. We had a letter from Allen Ginsberg to him, but it turned out he was a double agent, spy, KGB and CID. So we're trying to we heard he's in the hospital. We were very bold for Krishna. So we heard he's in the hospital, so we go with Sam Shinda's little red pickup truck, which we sometimes had to crank, and Sam Shinda loves to tell the story that I was cranking it, and my dhoti went up into the... And then there was a real ardent brahmachari that wanted to idolize the Beatles, and we were saying, think of my person, he's on the skylight. When the Beatles are practicing and the skylight broke and his dhoti was on the shard, and he lands at John Lennon's feet in his Brahmin underwear, and John says, oh, one of yours, eh, George? So we wanted to see Tom Dreberg, and we go there, and Jamuna says, oh, Mr. Dreberg, we're so glad. I'm exaggerating, and her voice is, but you can speak out of the voice, you know. Oh, Mr. Dreberg, we're so glad to meet. And he started to shake in the bed, and the chart was going beep, 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 and it starts to go beep, it's flatlining. And nurses are coming in and reviving him. And then we hear across the room, I'm Mr. Dreberg. And so then my cartoon characters, the Southerners, go beep, 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 beep. Oh, Mr. Dreberg, we're so glad to meet you. So we gave him tapes, and he became one of our sponsors. He helped a lot. So we did get to meet the Beatles, and Sam Shinda and Malati at one point moved out with George Harrison, and I'd like to really know more about that, because I was still in London. I was elected the president, so I couldn't have done it without Jamuna. And Prabhupada said, this is a family temple. It's not artificial. And you're the father and Jamuna is the mother. And then he proved it. He said, the young brahmacharis, the young brahmacharinis are not mixing because they're so happy. And it was a vibrant, vibrant temple. We went out 3 times a day. Harinam and 2 recordings. Our recording was the fastest selling single, more than the Beatles. It went behind the Iron Curtain. It was number 3 in at that time, Czechoslovakia. Now Czech Republic. In Czech Republic, all these Eastern European devotees, I'm so impressed with them. They're like I was in the beginning, really ardent and dedicated, and they had one leg up because they're not bred in Circus America, but they joined. I talked to them, one because of the exoticness of Krishna consciousness. This is my theory. Saris, non-vindictive God, Radha, Krishna, incense, prasadam, kirtan. Prabhupada said, you know God by the ecstasy you feel. So we've been feeling all these ecstasies. They don't quite have the same sense of humor as the Czech Republic. Just like in Britain, they say, the more northern you get, the more friendly the people are. And I discovered that in Liverpool. So the Czech Republic, the Ukrainians surround me in the Baltic Festival, and they had a little cake for me, and they did a little kirtan, 15 people. It was so sweet. And I was a little heavier than I said, and when they brought me the cake, I said, do I look hungry? And then 15 minutes later he said, oh, Gurudas made joke. Gurudas made joke, ha. Okay, so the Beatles were great. I got to talk a little bit about India. Again, we were successful. So then Prabhupada asked us to go to India. Not everyone, but now Bhaktivedanta Manna was there. So Prabhupada asked me to lead a team of 17 people. And they were the cream de la cream of the movement. Later on, they sent all the crazies and people who were kicked out of temples. They'd show up in Vrindavan. But if they didn't do any service, if they could have stayed 3 days. If they did service, this was William Penn. If you come to this colony, you gotta serve, not just lay around. Some people would get off the plane in India, and then they'd put on the gumsha and a money belt. And they'd walk around. So we arrived there in this plane that's 2 propellers, no door to the cockpit, a blanket, and half the people had goats and chickens. So we get to Cairo, Egypt, and I made sure our bag and baggage was transferred. And it was the day President Nasser was assassinated, and the whole country was in turmoil. And I had a new movie camera. The bag and baggage was secured. Gurudas led everybody in the kirtan on the tarmac. And they're jumping up and down, and I have the movie camera, and there's President Nasser just assassinated, and there were big posters of him, and the whole airport was in black, and there's Gurudas and the devotees. And then I see these soldiers running with bayonets and drooling mouths and red eyes. And the film is funny because there's the devotees, and then it's on my wrist. It goes boink, boink, boink all over the place because I get between the soldiers and I said, we're singing the praises of President Nasser. And they put up their bayonets and surrounded us as our guards now. So this is Chaitra Guru intelligence. And we get to India and it's so nice. Some hot air greeted me as we come into the airport. It's slower. There's a few cows. And this man greets us, not in a dhoti or anything. He looked like a detective. So I said, where's your ID? And he had a telegram, Gurudas in charge, go with this man. So we go with him, Kailash Aksara, in cars, and I'm saying, India, look, there's cows, and there's dalwalas, and people walking by the side of the road, and little temples, and everything like that. So, why is the man honking his horn so much? It seems the horn is more important than the motor or the brakes. Well, I saw that when he honked the horn, the cows and everybody would go outside the road. Later on, driving in a car in East Bengal with Prabhupada, and the horn broke. So Prabhupada says, and so the cows and people weren't walking off the road. It was dangerous. But Prabhupada said, "Give me my tali, give me my cane, dun 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 dun." Leans out the window, bang bang, bang bang, bang bang. Cows, everybody goes. He said, then he goes, he says, "They will think it's an American invention and try to imitate." And he was so much fun to be with, you never know. I told the story the other day. People were touching his feet and giving him gifts, and I'm sitting right here, and I said, "Prabhupada, is it true that when people touch your feet, you have to take on their karma?" And he said, "That's why I pat them on the head. I give it back." So it was so much fun to be with him like that. So we get there in this mansion on Marine Drive, and we go on Kirtan the next day, and we go to Kalpadevi, a poor part of the town, but Kailash Aksarya sent servants in costumes with Nibbupani, pictures of Nibbupani standing by us. Everybody thought, well, this is the American style of Harinam, that they have servants with pictures of Nibbupani. So I sent them back, but we drank the Nibbupani first. Prabhupada told me, you don't know you're invited until you're washing your hands after the meal. You see, whoa, what's going to come out of his mouth next? Little things like that. So then, when I do Harinam, I like to talk about it, what we're doing, especially in the West. Mantra. So I was giving a talk that I thought was presenting us, your culture. I thought, well, it's a pretty good talk. And I said, are there any questions? And somebody said, how much does that watch cost, sir? Welcome to India, it's duality. They accused us of being CIA. And there was this movie, Dave Anand, Dumb Ari Dumb. It's Take a Little Puff. So everybody thought we were hippies, and we went there, and we'd be doing Harinam, and these people would go, Dum Ari Dum Dari. And the devotees really didn't like it. And we told Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, well, they're chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. When you find gold in a filthy place, pick it out, he said. Just like Murgai and they're adversaries, but they're chanting Hare Krishna. See how Prabhupada taught? So I met with Uma Shankar Dixit. He was the home minister. I got to meet Indira Gandhi twice. And Mother Teresa, etc. Krishna. At any rate, it was a high-level talk because I said to him, you know we're not CIA. He was very wise. He was our advisor. I don't know if there's what they call it here, but it's like Secretary of State in America, advisor, and he was very wise. And he said, I know you're not CIA, but your food program was so successful that, and we're a secular government, that you're on your own, kid. And we had the Panda program in Delhi, and I invited all the Dr. Admiram, the scientist, and the mayor of Delhi, and the poet laureate, and the movie star. So I wanted to get a minister. So, and you can't do this was India back then. So I went to Jagjivan, and he was an untouchable, but now the caste system was different according to merit, which it should be, rather than caste. So he was the Minister of Defense. And I said, if we could get the Minister of Defense to come to our Pondo, that would really top it off. I tried to get Indira Gandhi, but she did the secular thing. I said, well, we're a way of life as well as a religion, you know. So we get there at 7 in the morning, and I'm with Tamal Krishna. And Tamal Krishna can sell Eskimos refrigerators. And he's with me. So the plan was, if we're stopped, and sure enough, there was a soldier with a gun and a bayonet, and he was there. So our plan was we would split up. And I guess the soldier thought Tamal was more dangerous than me. He chased Tamal. And so I'm on the porch with the defense minister, Jagjivan, and I said, please come to our Pondo. And he said, I can't, we're secular. If I go to one, we have to go to everyone, and there's so many in India, you know. There's a guru on every street corner. You're laughing at the right places. Thank you. Thank you for listening so nicely. And yesterday too. Oh, I forgot what I was talking about. Sorry. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay, Molly. A senior moment. She's already, I don't know, she's going to scold me for something. I don't know what. I'm trying my best. Oh, yeah. No, it's so funny with Samarshund and Malti. I'm sitting in the middle, and Samarshund say, it was 50,000. And Malti says, no, Samarshund, it was 50. Anyway. So I see a painting of Jagjivan on the corner, on the wall, with his mother chanting japa. So I said, if you don't come to our Pondo, I'm gonna tell your mother on you. Oh, I'll come. He didn't, because 2 ministers knew about the war with Pakistan before it happened. 3 months, and then they blamed it on Pakistan. So I got to tell that story in the Dharamshala, but I just wanted to finish the CIA. I was surrounded by a village, and they touched my feet. I did get a little sick, but they were saying CIA, CIA, and I said, what kind of CIA agents get up at Brahma Murti and chant? And I had a pen that leaked, and I said, and if I was CIA, what would I'm from India? Nothing works. And they go, hee hee. And then I said, I want your secret formula of Gulab Jamun. So it was the Indian-Pakistan war, and Delhi, they were covering the windows at night, and we were in a dharamshala with Prabhupada, and he wouldn't cover the windows. And an ad hoc committee came and said, Swamiji, why aren't you covering the windows? And he said, if Krishna wants to kill, no one can save. And if Krishna wants to save you, no one can. Yes, but Swamiji, what if the bomb should come? And I was his teamwork. I gave people water, and I was photographing and serving the scientific. So they said, what if the bomb should come? And I was standing up, and I saw Prabhupada say, then I will see the bomb as Krishna. So one other story I want to tell that's important. I was sitting in the Vishakhapatnam temple In India, you know, you put one shoe on one side of the temple, one shoe on the other, because monkeys and people don't take one shoe. And I run after Prabhupada and there's barnacles, and I'm walking gingerly, and he looks, he says, "Where are your shoes?" And I said, "When I'm with you, Prabhupada, I don't feel any pain." And he goes, "Yeah, are you still a hippie?" You know? He said, "Where are your shoes?" He said, "There's enough tapasya in the world without and putting any more on ourselves unnecessary." So this means in our Krishna consciousness to allow for your humanness. Try your best. Don't beat yourself up because the standard is high. Don't judge others. Das anudas, give to others. All we have is each other, Radhanath and I said one time. I mean, when you break it down, if someone wanted to break it down, yes, there's sastra, sadhana, and seva. And so we have to balance, grihasthas have to balance that. A lot of people come to me for counseling about how to balance their grihastha life. And one other thing, as I say, be kind to one another. I started a charity called Vedic Care Charitable Trust, and we're doing outreach all over the world. That doesn't take much. Instead of reactive medicine, it's preventative. You have a team ready, identifies who's in need, they've given their life for Krishna, they may not be the great Gurudas, so find them, bring them prasadam, intercede in nursing homes. We do that, we bring MP3 for the ears, so they don't have to listen to TV. Don't feed them meat, we educate the nursing homes, but we also have some assisted living, Krishna conscious ones, where they're vibrant, not waiting to die, still activities. Old folks like to tell their stories, you know everything, do films. And we work with hospice and then the Srada. So the website is small, myvedicare.com. Please check it out. And thank you so much. I love these gatherings. Canada is so wonderful. If it gets too crazy in the US, we might move here. Seriously. Thank you so much, my dear spiritual family, for showering me with love. And so, as Prabhupada did, we'll all shower each other with love. Thank you very much.